The puppy made a mess that covered the entire kitchen floor in white powder. When Sarah and Michael walked in to find their 9-month-old daughter sitting in the chaos, they were furious. Their golden retriever, Max, stood nearby, whining desperately, nudging baby Emma away from the bare laminate with his nose. The couple had just spent $3,000 on that flooring. One afternoon, while they were upstairs folding laundry, Max had somehow torn open a 20-pound bag of flour and spread it everywhere. Sarah's first instinct was to grab the dog by his collar until she noticed something odd about the way he kept circling Emma, his body language screaming distress. What they discovered a week later was so shocking it made them realize they'd almost punished the one thing standing between their daughter and a silent killer. Before watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another heart-gripping story like this one. Sarah and Michael had moved into their suburban home 3 months earlier, exhausted from years of apartment living with thin walls and neighbors who complained about every sound. The renovation had drained their savings, but the kitchen was their pride and joy. Sleek white cabinets, marble countertops, and brand new laminate flooring that looked like expensive hardwood but cost a fraction of the price. Emma had just started crawling, and Sarah loved watching her explore the smooth, easy-to-clean surface. Max, their 4-year-old golden retriever, had been Michael's father's dog before he passed away. The animal was calm, obedient, almost eerily well-behaved. He'd never chewed furniture, never had an accident indoors, never caused trouble. "He's acting weird," Sarah had mentioned to Michael 2 weeks after the flooring installation. "Weird how?" Michael was distracted, scrolling through his phone. "He keeps whining, following Emma everywhere, won't let her play in the kitchen without hovering over her." Michael shrugged. "He's protective. Dad always said he was intuitive with people. It's more than that. He seems anxious, like genuinely stressed." "He's fine, Sarah. You're reading too much into it." But Max wasn't fine. He'd stopped eating normally. His tail, usually wagging, hung low. Every time Emma crawled onto the kitchen floor, he'd position himself between her and the laminate, trying to herd her back toward the living room carpet. When Sarah would place Emma in her high chair for meals, Max would pace circles around them, whining that high-pitched sound that made Sarah's jaw clench. "Michael, I think something's wrong with him. Maybe we should take him to the vet." "We just dropped $3,000 on flooring. The vet can wait unless he's actually sick." The tension in their house had been building for weeks. Money was tight. Sarah had gone back to work part-time, leaving Emma with Michael's mother twice a week. The adjustment was brutal. Emma wasn't sleeping through the night. Sarah's eyes had dark hollows beneath them. Michael snapped at small things, his patience worn thread-thin. Then came that Tuesday afternoon. Sarah was upstairs, finally getting Emma down for a nap after 40 minutes of rocking and shushing. Michael had run to the hardware store for cabinet handles they'd forgotten to install. The house was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator. Sarah had just closed Emma's nursery door when she heard it, a crash from downstairs, then frantic scratching sounds. Her heart jumped into her throat. She flew down the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. The kitchen looked like a snow globe had exploded. White flour covered every surface. The 20-pound bag lay torn open, its contents scattered across the floor, in thick drifts. And there, in the middle of it all, sat Emma. She'd woken up, somehow climbed out of her crib for the first time, and crawled downstairs. Her pajamas were white. Her face was white. She was giggling, clapping her flour-covered hands together. Max stood beside her, his golden coat dusted with white powder, his mouth open and panting. The bag had clearly been dragged from the pantry, ripped open with teeth, then spread deliberately across the floor. The dog's eyes met Sarah's, and she saw something there that looked almost human. Desperation. Pleading. "What did you do?" Sarah's voice came out as a whisper of pure fury. "What the hell did you do?" Max whined, that same high-pitched sound he'd been making for weeks. He nudged Emma again, trying to push her off the floor, but Emma just laughed and patted his nose, leaving white handprints on his snout. "Get away from her." Sarah lunged forward, scooping Emma up, flour puffing into clouds around them. "Bad dog, Max, bad!" The dog's ears flattened against his skull. He backed away, tail tucked, but his eyes never left Emma. He was still whining, still agitated, still trying to communicate something Sarah couldn't understand. Michael walked in 30 seconds later. His face went from confusion to shock to anger in rapid succession. Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me right now? I was upstairs for 10 minutes, Michael. 10 minutes! This floor costs $3,000. You think I don't know that? Emma started crying, overwhelmed by the shouting. Max barked once, sharp and urgent, then tried to position himself between the arguing parents and the baby. That's it. Michael's voice went cold. He's going to a kennel. I'll call around tomorrow. Michael, no, he was your dad's. My dad's dog just destroyed our kitchen. Look at this mess. The floor's probably scratched to hell under all this flour. Sarah wanted to argue, but she was too tired, too angry, too overwhelmed. She carried Emma upstairs for a bath, leaving Michael to deal with Max in the disaster zone. Behind her, she heard Michael's harsh voice. Outside. Now. Go. The cleanup took 3 hours. Michael swept and swept again, muttering under his breath the entire time. Sarah gave Emma a bath, put her in clean clothes, tried to nurse her back to calm. When she came back downstairs, Max was in the backyard, lying by the fence, his head on his paws. He looked defeated. That night, they barely spoke. Michael slept on the couch. Sarah lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Emma's breathing through the baby monitor. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't name it. The anger was still there, hot and justified. $3,000. Their beautiful new floor. Max had never done anything like that before. Never. That was the part that nagged at her as she finally drifted into uneasy sleep. In 4 years, Max had never been destructive. Not once. 5 days passed. Max stayed mostly outside, only coming in for meals, walking past the kitchen with his head low. Emma seemed fussier than usual, rubbing at her legs, crying more during diaper changes. Sarah attributed it to teething. Then on day 6, Michael was going through his email, deleting junk when he saw it. The subject line made his stomach drop. Urgent. Product recall notice. FloorTech laminate. His hands started shaking before he even opened it. Sarah. His voice sounded strange, hollow. Sarah, come here. She walked into the living room, Emma on her hip. What? The flooring. Our flooring. He turned the laptop toward her. Sarah read aloud, her voice getting quieter with each word. FloorTech is issuing an immediate recall of all laminate flooring in the Autumn Oak series, batch numbers 2847 through 2851, due to elevated levels of volatile organic compounds, including di-2-ethylhexyl phthalate, a plasticizer that can cause respiratory irritation, skin reactions, and potential developmental issues in infants and young children when exposed to off-gassing in enclosed spaces. The compound has a distinct chemical odor that may not be detectable to humans, but can be perceived by animals with sensitive olfactory systems. The words seemed to echo in the silence that followed. Check the batch number, Sarah whispered. Michael's hands fumbled with his phone, pulling up the receipt from the flooring company. His face went gray. 2849. They both turned to look at the kitchen floor. That beautiful, smooth, expensive floor that Emma had been crawling on for weeks, that Max had been trying to keep her away from since the day it was installed. Oh my God. Sarah's knees buckled. She sat down hard on the couch, clutching Emma tighter. Oh my God, Michael. The flour. He was covering the floor. He was trying to create a barrier. He could smell it. He's been trying to tell us for weeks. Sarah pulled up Emma's pajama leg with trembling fingers. There, on her daughter's soft skin, was a faint red rash. Small bumps clustered around her knees and shins, the places that touched the floor when she crawled. She's been fussier. I thought it was teething. Michael, I thought it was teething. Michael was already dialing. I'm calling the pediatrician. Then I'm calling the flooring company. His voice cracked. We need to get her checked out, now. The emergency pediatrician visit took 2 hours. The doctor examined Emma's rash, took a detailed history, ran her fingers over the small bumps that had spread up Emma's legs. Contact dermatitis, consistent with chemical exposure, the doctor said, making notes. You said you received a recall notice today? Yes. The flooring was installed 7 weeks ago. And your dog was trying to keep her off it? We didn't realize. We thought he was just being destructive. Sarah's voice broke. We were going to get rid of him. The doctor looked up, her expression serious. Mrs. Patterson, phthalate exposure in infants can affect endocrine development. The fact that your dog recognized the danger and took action likely prevented much more significant exposure. Another few weeks of direct contact, especially given how much time crawling infants spend on floors. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Michael's face had gone from gray to green. How bad could it have been? Let's focus on the fact that you caught it now. The rash should clear up within a week once exposure stops. I don't see signs of respiratory involvement, which is good. But I want to see her back in 2 weeks for a follow-up, and we'll monitor her development closely over the next 6 months. Sarah started crying. Not delicate tears, but great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. We yelled at him. We locked him outside. He was trying to save her, and we punished him. Michael put his arm around her, his own eyes wet. We didn't know. He knew. He knew, and we wouldn't listen. They drove home in silence, Emma asleep in her car seat, oblivious to the crisis she'd narrowly escaped. When they pulled into the driveway, Max was at the back door, his nose pressed against the glass. Sarah got Emma settled in her playpen in the living room, far from the kitchen, while Michael opened the back door. Max didn't bound in like he usually did. He entered cautiously, tail low, watching them with those intelligent brown eyes. Max. Sarah knelt down on the carpet. Come here, boy. The dog approached slowly, uncertain. Sarah wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face in his fur. He still smelled like flour. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You were trying to protect her. You were trying to tell us, and we wouldn't listen. Max's tail gave a tentative wag. He licked her cheek, then pulled away to check on Emma, positioning himself between her playpen and the kitchen, just like he'd been doing for weeks. Michael knelt down too, his hand on Max's head. My dad always said you were special, that you understood things. I should have listened to him. I should have listened to you. The flooring company came the next day with a hazmat team. They removed every square inch of laminate, sealed it in special bags, and left the Pattersons with bare subfloor and a check for full replacement, plus damages. The foreman, a grizzled man in his 50s, shook his head as he surveyed the work. You're the third house this week, he said. Most people didn't catch it until their kids got really sick. You folks are lucky. It wasn't luck, Sarah said, her hand resting on Max's head. It was him. The foreman looked at the dog, then back at Sarah. Smart animal. Smarter than us, apparently. That night, after Emma was asleep and new carpet samples were spread across the dining room table, Sarah and Michael sat on the floor with Max between them. The dog's head rested on Sarah's lap. His body finally relaxed for the first time in weeks. I keep thinking about what the doctor said, Michael spoke quietly. Another few weeks. If he hadn't made that mess, if we'd taken him to a kennel like I wanted to. Don't. Sarah's voice was firm. We can't think like that. We know now. She's safe now, because of him. Max's tail thumped against the floor. Sarah scratched behind his ears, that spot that made his back leg kick. You're staying right here, buddy. Forever. You hear me? Your family? You're her guardian. The dog's brown eyes looked up at her, and Sarah could have sworn she saw understanding there. Not just animal instinct, but genuine comprehension of what had happened, what he'd prevented, what he meant to them now. Michael's dad used to say that dogs know things we don't, Michael said softly, that they see dangers we're blind to. I always thought it was just, old man talk. But he was right. Max knew. He could smell something we couldn't see, couldn't detect, couldn't even imagine was there. He destroyed our kitchen to save our daughter. Sarah laughed, but it came out choked with emotion. Best $300 worth of flour ever spent. From that day forward, Max never left Emma's side. When they installed new flooring, certified safe and tested twice, he inspected every inch of it before allowing Emma near it. The neighbors heard the story and stopped by with treats for the hero dog. Sarah's mother, who'd never been much of an animal person, brought Max a new bed and premium dog food. Emma's first word, 3 months later, wasn't mama or dada. It was Ma, her baby version of Max's name, called out with pure joy whenever the golden retriever entered the room. Sometimes the line between tragedy and safety is guarded not by technology or human vigilance, but by instincts we've forgotten we need. What we dismiss as animal behavior often speaks truths our sophisticated minds cannot process. Max couldn't send an email or read a recall notice. He couldn't explain phthalates or chemical off-gassing. But he could smell danger, and when his warnings went unheard, he took action in the only way he knew how. In covering that poisoned floor with flour, he built a barrier between an infant and invisible harm. The mess wasn't destruction. It was salvation in its purest form. If this story opened your eyes to the unseen guardians in your own life, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Share it with friends and family who have pets, young children, or anyone who's ever doubted an animal's instinct. Because sometimes the greatest acts of love look like chaos until we finally understand what they mean.